I'm Nikki, the maple farmer, and today I am collecting sap. So the weather has been really warm. So 4 days ago, it got really warm and the sap pretty much stopped running, but then it froze. We actually got a little bit of snow on the ground. It's melted right now because it's close to 70 degrees, but the sap started running yesterday and has been running like crazy. It has been the best run of the season so far. So I figured today we'd take the time to not only collect sap, but I have my refractometer right here, which means that we're going to measure the sugar content from each tree and see which one has the highest sugar content. Let's go. We are going to start at this red maple tree, so come along. This bucket is so full. I better watch where I'm going here. This is the fullest this bucket has been all year. So this right here is a red maple tree, and it is an edge tree. If you look at, you can tell it's really filling up, but it's getting warm. So there's actually some black flies in here. We're gonna run the sap through a screen before it goes through our reverse osmosis machine. But as I said, I have my refractometer here. So this measures the sugar content in sap. So what I do is I'm going to take my dropper. Just going to grab a little sap out of the bucket here. Put 2 to 3 drops on. 1, 2, 3. Don't want to waste sap, so got to put the rest in the bucket. Flip that shut. And now you just look through the eyepiece. Oh, this is some good sap. So we're right at 2% bricks. I'm not sure if you come in with the camera, if you'll be able to see it. I'm not sure if you can see it real clear. Okay, it looks pretty clear there, right there. 2% sugar content. That's what we're looking for. That is what we like to see. So at a 2% sugar content, using the rule of 86, we got to use this, just wipe off the sap here. Using the rule of 86, so you take 86 divided by the sugar content, which right here is 2, and that'll give us 43, which means it takes 43 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. And before I dump these buckets into the 5-gallon pail, I'm actually going to test the other tree just because I'm curious right here. This bucket is also very full. I'm going to guess it's at 2% as well. But you never know. Yep, right on at 2% again. So this is our red maple, 2%. We're going to go look at a sugar maple next. But this sap content, the sugar content of this sap is really good.
What's the sugar content you want for each maple tree?
Yeah. Ask me questions as you like.
Okay, just any moment.
Yeah. Are you recording still?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you don't have to ask me. I'll just repeat it. So typical sugar content of a maple tree, a lot of people say it averages around 2%, but we've had it anywhere from 1.2%, you know, that 1% mark, all the way to 2.5, 2.4. So that 2% is really good. That's what we like to see. And our sap is still running. Look at all this. Look at how fast this sap is dripping. And if you listen closely, you can actually hear it. I love that sound. I brought 3 5-gallon pails out, but 2 just filled 1 5-gallon pail, so looks like I'm probably going to need more. I'm gonna put the cover right on this. Now here's a sugar maple. As you can see, this one's only full to about here, so nothing compared to our red maple tree. But we're gonna check the sugar content here. If I can open the case. I was trying to open it upside down here. 'Cause I'm curious what this sugar content is. Oh, it's a hair over 2, so it's about 2.1. So it's a little bit higher than our red maple, but because it didn't give us a lot of sap, I'd actually prefer taking those red maple trees over this sugar maple right now, because a lot of people actually ask, what kind of maple trees do you tap? And here we tap all maple trees. We like to tap them all. On my personal property, we mainly have red and sugar maple, so that's what I'm tapping. And as you can see, the sugar content is very similar between the two. So let's collect this sap and move on. So I just came from a sugar maple, and the bricks on that one was 2.1. So the sugar maple, we had 2.1, and if you use the rule of 86 and you do 86 divided by 2.1, that gave us about 40.9. Is that correct? Okay, gave us about 40.9, meaning it takes 40.9 gallons of sap, so almost 41. So on the sugar maple, it gave us about almost 41 gallons of raw sap it takes to make 1 gallon of maple syrup, where with the red maple at 2% sugar content, it takes 43 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. So you have about a 2-gallon difference, but the way that the red maples were producing, I'd rather take the red maple right now over the sugar maple. However, I do want to point this out. Right here's another red maple. This bucket is again full up to here, and that other one was full up to here. So these red maples that I have tapped, and the next one that we'll be going to, they are all edge trees, which means they are getting more sunlight. If you look up the tree, they have larger canopies. Typically, trees that are in the wide open have larger canopies. They'll produce sweeter sap and more sap. Another thing that I want to mention is when you tap the tree, a lot of people like to tap on the sunny side of the tree, the south side of the tree. Mine are not on the south side of the tree, and that is because where I live, it gets very windy, and I am using plastic buckets. I'm not using tubing. So if these buckets are empty, they can blow around a bit. So I actually put them on the side of the tree to protect them from the wind to keep them in place. So that is why I have them tapped where I do. Now with all that, let's collect some more sap. Now we're going to grab this last entry right here, and then we'll grab another 5-gallon bucket, because I should, just at a quick glance there, those ones didn't produce as much sap because they are interior trees, so those should all be able to fit into one bucket. And the buckets I'm using, these are 3-gallon buckets. And as you can see, they filled up pretty good because the sap, as I said before, is running better today than it has run all season. Let me swap this out and grab an empty bucket. So this tree right here and the next 3 that I'm going to grab, they are all interior trees, and they are all sugar maple trees. And they're running pretty good, but not quite as much sap as you would get from a tree that's on the edge. And the sap is nice and clear. I actually got a couple questions about how you know when sap is bad. So a telltale sign that the sap has gone bad is it will be cloudy or it will sour. So it'll actually have a sour smell to it. And if your sap does that, you don't want to use it anymore. You can toss it and probably stop making maple syrup. Well, for the season. Got our last tree here. Look at this moth. I just dumped the whole bucket right over it. It just clung on. It's still alive. She's going to be a tad bit sticky probably when she dries. She don't want to get off. So sap is about 2% sugar content, as you saw with the refractometer I was using, which means it's pretty much water, but when it dries, it leaves behind kind of that sticky residue. And it's clear, but when you boil it down, that caramelizes the sugars, and that's what gives it that golden color. Let's take all this to the reverse osmosis machine, run it through, and we're going to check the sugar content after we do that. So right here I have my raw sap in these 3 buckets. This red tube will be for my concentrate, and the blue tube is for my permeate. So right here is my reverse osmosis machine. It's the Nano RO by CDL. It's very small and compact. And how it works is if you follow this yellow tube, there's this, kind of has some weights in there and a screen on there. So you just put that into your raw sap bucket, and then it pumps it up through the RO. It can handle 800 gallons per day of raw sap. So 800 gallons per day. It'll pump it through. You want to keep it around 100 PSI. You'll see it in action here in a second. And then through the blue tube will come out permeate, and through the red you will have your concentrate. So before I get started here, I'm just going to skim off the bugs from the top. And then this has the weights inside there and a screen. So it'll kind of screen the sap as it goes through. We're just going to drop that down to the bottom. And before we get started, I want to see what the bricks are of this bucket, because I want to see, after it runs through the RO, how many bricks are in there. So I'm just going to grab some sap out of this bucket, place 2 to 3 drops on there, look at it through some natural light. And the bricks here are just under 1.9, so 1.8 bricks for this entire bucket right here. Wipe this off. Now let's run it through the RO and see what it takes it up to. So it's really simple. I have my tubes already. Just hit the button. Starts up. And now I'm going to adjust this. Now I want to get this needle up to about 100 PSI. Bouncing around there. So this is just a little needle valve you adjust to get it right around that 100 PSI. We're going to take a look at the permeate and concentrate. We got the permeate coming out into this bucket. The concentrate is in this bucket. Not sure if you can tell the difference in the video, but there is a color difference. You'll probably be able to see it more once we get more sap in there. Right here we got our needle right around 100 PSI. The raw sap's coming up through here and just working its way through the machine. And our raw sap, we're going to tilt the bucket. That's how fast it works. It can run through the raw sap really fast, and this cuts down on boiling time a lot. Right, here's our concentrate. Let me get a couple drops. We're going to test it out. Okay, so I'm going to see what the sugar content is. Ooh. With 1 pass to the RO. So we went from 1.9 to 3.5 bricks, which means if you use the rule of 86, it will take us to about 24.5 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup, where if we kept it at the 1.9, it's going to take about 45 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. So as you can see right there, you're going to be boiling off a lot less moisture, so it'll cut down on your boiling time, making it more efficient when you boil and saving you on fuel. So we're actually going to put it through again, because this machine it could actually take it up to 6 bricks. So we're just going to pass it through one more time, see what it takes us. So we're at 3.5%. We'll see what we are next. Just going to grab this bucket here. I have the tube clamped on just so that way it doesn't pop out of the bucket. I'm going to pour it right back into this. Let's see what we get from round 2. But I'm actually going to show you this bucket first because it was completely full. It was a completely full 5-gallon pail. And we are at, I mean, it's probably down, I don't know if you can see that. It's about down to 1/3. So it took 1 5-gallon pail of water, or raw sap, down to 1/3 of a bucket. Just going to pass through the RO really quick. I want to add more sap in, but for the purpose of showing you the sugar content after you pass it through, I'm not going to add more sap, but we'll do all the sap after. I just got done with my second pass through the reverse osmosis machine, and it took it up to 5. So we're at 5%, so 5 bricks. And I'm not going to run it through again because it went up by 2, about 2% that time. And this machine is used to take it up to like 6% bricks, but I'm going to keep it right where it is. Out of a 5-gallon pail, this is how much permeate we have, about half. And this is how much concentrate we have, about 1/4 of a pail. There's still a little left in that pail because of the screen, so it didn't get all the way to the bottom. But that is what 1 5-gallon pail got us. So for that one bucket, we went from 1.9 bricks to 3 bricks to 5 bricks. So we went from boiling 45 gallons of sap all the way down to only have to boil 17 gallons of sap. So that really saves us a lot of time and a lot of money when it comes to fuel costs. So I have this running just a normal cycle right now that I'm actually dumping the concentrate back in to run it through the RO twice. But what you can do, if you would like, is you can actually batch cycle it. So all you would do to do that is you would take the concentrate, put it in the raw sap bucket so it can keep going through itself and you don't have to manually switch things over. But for me, I don't mind dumping it in. Plus, I like being right here to keep an eye on things because it goes really fast. The machine, like I said, everything goes fast, so I like to stay right here, watch it, and that way I can keep an eye on my sap. So 15 gallons of raw sap have been reduced down to this, which is probably about 3/4 of a bucket of concentrated sap. So I use my refractometer to measure everything. I clean it with permeate when I'm all done, and between readings just to get a more accurate reading. But I use that, and then with the Nano RO, I took the raw sap, concentrated it all down. So we got 1 bucket of concentrated sap. We are going to throw this in the evaporator. I'm going to actually refrigerate it for tomorrow because I'm going to boil it down tomorrow. So be sure to like and subscribe. And if you guys want to get your hands on some maple syrup, go to themaplefarmer.com. I have syrup over there for you guys, and we will see you next time.